me the truth. Welcome back. This is your host. Listen, I wanted you to take a picture. Just take a look at this man right here. I do not know how long he has to live. So go ahead and take a. It's not funny. I'm going to take a look at him. His name is Dr. Robert Malone, and he is blowing the gasket off of the government and off of these entities that are so pro C-19, right? We're not even going to say it because we know that people are ban happy, dreaming up all kinds of excuses to delete creators. I'm talking about creators that have spent hours of their time on videos. They've spent hours of their time creating content, and there are those that can simply erase them without any remorse at all. And so we wanted you to take a good look at him. Okay, here's Dr. Robert Malone. They have him in a painting right here as if he's already passed, but no, it's a very respectful gesture to paint this man who is blowing the roof off of the narrative. And of course, the narrative has already fallen. So that doesn't mean, though, that doesn't mean that we put up our guns, that that we put up our weapons, so to speak, and we no longer stand up to tyranny. We are to always be on guard, and we are to be that watchman on the wall. You know, in the book of Ezekiel, it talks about the watchman, and a lot of people are like, well, that was then. You know, they had watchmen then, and yada yada. But you know what? We are still watchmen. Did you know that? Did you know that every saint is a watchman and that we are continually to be vigilant? So let's get right into what he had to say about this whole narrative that the media was pushing, the governments of the world was pushing, the state was pushing. I'm talking about in Europe, they tried to push it in Africa, it failed miserably. They're pushing it in South America, North America. Boy, they were pushing it so hard, right? But guess what? Guess what, folks? What that was? Is called mass formation psychosis. They had so many people fall for the idea that the masks actually protect against COVID. And there are some that think that the vaccine or the waxing, as some are saying, or the lethal injection or the gene therapy, right? It's not a vaccine at all. If you look up the definition of vaccine, you'll see that this is not it at all. And so he goes into why so many people were fooled. And that's where we got the mass formation psychosis. I actually like what Scott Lively said. He said it's actually mass formation hypnosis because these people were just taking the jab. They were uh, doing whatever the government said, staying inside, ruining their mental capacity, and a lot of things uh, ended up really, really wrong, and people started to wake up one at a time, and then hundreds at a time, and then thousands at a time, until finally it seemed like they had to say, man, we got to switch the narrative. Oh, look over there, Ukraine. Oh, okay. So listen, j- please keep your eyes open. Please keep your eyes open and research. So in this article, it talks about the philosophy of getting people to do what you want. I'm talking about on a massive scale. And he goes into the indoctrination of Joseph Goebbels. Now, if you know who Joseph Goebbels, Dr. Joseph Goebbels was, he was actually the minister of propaganda for Nazi Germany. And so he was the one that was quoted as saying, if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. And that's what has happened with this pandemic. A lot of people were scared out of their minds, and so they did whatever they could in order to quote unquote survive, to bring back the new normal, or whatever they wanted to call it. And what did the government say? They said 2 weeks, 2 weeks. That's all we need, 2 weeks. Listen, 2 weeks turned into 2 years, and they're trying to keep it going on for a decade. But listen, people are waking up and they are not pleased. And so if you look in to the history of Dr. Anthony Fauci, you'll see some things that just don't line up, right? They're incongruent to what he was saying. As far as, and this is just one example, the mask, he said, no, you don't need a mask. And then he flipped on that and said, oh, you do need a mask. Well, who is the puppeteer here? What happened? Why the sudden change? Huh? Like one famous famous singer said, why the sudden change, right? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are living by the truth. Okay. So we do know this. Okay. We know that Dr. Joseph Goebbels, his philosophy was you got to avoid abstract ideas. Okay. You got to appeal to the emotions of the masses. Constantly repeat just a few ideas and use stereotyped phrases. Okay. Number three, give only one side of the argument. My goodness, isn't that popular today? People are only giving one side of the argument. He also said you got to continuously criticize your opponents on a continual basis. Isn't that what's happening in the political world? Man, you can't catch one debate without one side criticizing the other. I believe that's the enemy's tactic, and it is inferior to God's strategy. And then he said, you got to pick out one enemy for special vilification. Oh my goodness, you got to pick out one enemy for special vilification. And a lot of times that's been the righteous folks. That's been the saints of Almighty God. So, folks, you got to be careful with who you hang with. And I'm going to get into why that's necessary, why you have to pay attention to your circle before they hurt you. Because the governments of the world, they've shown that they are not your friend. You've actually encountered and they've actually implemented psychological operations or psyops on you. Okay, so we do know already that there have been agents from the CIA, namely the director Alan Dulles and Cord Meyer, the official at the Central Intelligence Agency. They actually organized a propaganda campaign in the early 1950s. Now, in the early 1950s, wasn't that right around McCarthy? Remember, he was screaming, you're a communist, you're a communist, and everybody thought he was crazy. Who's crazy now, right? Listen, the CIA reportedly spent about $1 billion a year in today's dollars hiring journalists from corporations such as CBS, the New York Times, ABC, NBC, Newsweek, Associated Press, and others to promote the intelligence agency's viewpoints. Now, folks, you don't think that this has gone away, do you? You don't think that they stopped there, do you, back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s? No, they kept on going. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and name drop. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and name drop some names here so that you know who is the enemy and who is the friend. Okay, just to let you know. TNI, if you see that name in the news, it stands for Trusted News Initiative. And ironically, you are not to trust them. Huh? Now watch this. TNI uses advocacy journalism and journals to promote its causes. Moreover, a review of Hitler's basic principles actually reveals that members of TNI are using them to control the public. Now, this is TNI Partners. Go ahead and grab a pen or a pencil and a sheet of paper, a stylus, or an iPad, or your notepad. You need to write these names down. TNI, who is not to be trusted, partners with Associated Press, Agence France Presse, BBC, CBC slash Radio Canada, European Broadcasting Union, Facebook, Financial Times, First Draft, Google, The Hindu, Microsoft, the New York Times, here it is right here. Reuters, Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism, Twitter, YouTube, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post. Listen, now you know why your videos have been deleted. Now you know why those men of God's videos have been deleted. You remember Prophet TB Joshua? Boy, they deleted him so fast. Huh? Listen, that's why. Okay, it's all a part of the global scheme. They're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Okay, so the World Economic Forum is actually a huge, a key think tank and a meeting place for global capitalism management. And so what that means is it's basically a hub for the deep state to get together and organize its schemes underneath the guise of, oh, we're doing this for humanity. Well, you're actually doing it against humanity if you look at everything that is going on. So let's take a look at what the World Economic Forum is trying to usher in. They're trying to usher in techno feudalism. Okay, that's why these big oligarchs of the technology industry, Microsoft, Google, and again, we're going to go through the names and Facebook, even. That's why they're all teaming up. Bezos, they're all teaming up to either deplatform these dissenting voices or something else. Speaking of dissent, I want to go back up here and I want you to look at what Joseph Goebbels actually said, okay, and see if this actually rings a bell. He said there was no point in seeking to convert the intellectuals. No, for intellectuals would never be converted and would anyway always yield to the stronger, and this will always be the man in the street. Arguments must therefore be crude, clear, and forcible, and appeal to emotions and instincts, not the intellect. Truth was unimportant and entirely subordinate to tactics and psychology. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent. I want you to underline that. To repress dissent. Is that not what's happening when they're deleting people's posts? Is that not what's happening when they're saying, oh, fact check, this is wrong, even though it's right? Is that not what's happening right now? You see, that same spirit is trying to gain the ascendancy, and we as the people of God can not only pray that away, but we can also work that away. Remember, faith without works is dead. So not only do you need to preach, you need to educate the people on how to vote, on how to think. Absolutely. People don't know how to think. We were just taught what to think growing up. Now we need to get taught how to think. Big shout out to you remember that? Oh, yes. Yes, I'm going to give you a huge shout out. American Christian Education, the Foundation for American Christian Education. Huge shout out to them. I really appreciate what they're doing for humanity. No, I do not get paid to say that. I'm just thankful for them. And so, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie. This is what Dr. Joseph Goebbels kept on saying. For the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. Now, what's the greatest enemy of the state? Dr. Joseph Goebbels said the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. Well, the truth may have been the greatest enemy of the state for them, but over here in America, and I'm actually also speaking, I'm just going to speak life over the world. Is that all right? And also for these other countries that do not want to be led by tyrants. You know, it may be true for Joseph Goebbels, Germany. But let me tell you something, it is not true for this Germany. It is not true for this Austria. It is not true for this France, this Spain, this Portugal, all of Europe, in the name of Jesus Christ. And I'm just going to speak that life over you. You're welcome. Absolutely. I want you to continue to pray. I want you to also pray about joining my team. It's called CIT, Community Impact Team, and where we have slots available. If you want a leadership position, go ahead and email me. Let me know. Go ahead and comment below, and I'll go ahead and reach out to you. We are putting together a dynamic team that is going to overcome the tyrants that have taken these seats unauthorized. Okay, so we see that this was actually the psychology of Dr. Goebbels, and we see that the more things change, the more things stay the same. And why does it always have to be Germany? Huh? Germany is such a great, great place. It's a great plenty of great minds and beautiful people and a beautiful culture. You know, the enemy wants to destroy the beautiful. Have you seen that? He wants to destroy it, he wants to pervert it. But I say that he comes no further. Just like all the oceans of the world have to stop at the beach or the whole land will be overrun, I say, I declare that the ocean of darkness comes no further. Okay, absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and drop these names here, but before we do that, we want to show you why the social credit system is not a system that America or any free country should be engaged in. Well, CJ, why is that? Well, the reason why they should not be engaged in it is because China's social credit system is a combination of government and business surveillance. Okay, this actually gives the citizens a score based on things like their where you going on the internet, right? And where you go on the internet can actually affect how much you can get at the store, right? Say you want to purchase something. Well, if you didn't go to the right places on the internet, let's say, guess what? You're only going to get $500 instead of the 5,000 that you needed. And that's just an example, right? It affects your property acquisition, your loans, right? Oh my goodness. And it's just based on how you use the internet. I mean, it directly impacts your social credit score. Look at this. Is that crazy? But listen, there's something similar, and that's why I'm against what? ESG. I know a lot of questions have been asked. CJ, why are you anti-ESG? Listen, because it's another social credit system. It's a social credit score, folks. Huh? And they're going to try to get up in your business, see who you voted for, see where you're going. That's how bad it can get if we let it. And guess what? We won't. All right? We will not. So we're going to go ahead and name drop the folks that were a part of the Young Global Leaders program that are that attended Klaus Schwab's Young Global Leaders. What that is actually a 5-year World Economic Forum. And of course, Klaus Schwab is the director of the World Economic Forum. It's a training. So these Young Global Leaders, it's a WEF training program that actually selects these people most likely to succeed in politics or corporate governance. And Klaus Schwab has stated that he was stating to someone as they interviewed him, he said, listen, we are able to penetrate the cabinets in all of these countries. And he was praising Justin Trudeau and the other ones. I believe there was one in Venezuela or another South America Spanish speaking, I mean, country. And he was doing this to let us know, listen, we're able to penetrate your cabinets and instill our doctrine and overrun your government That's what he's saying when he says penetrate. Okay. Penetrate the cabinets, he said, into the governments and install those leaders that he wants installed in all of these different countries for one ultimate objective, and that is to become a global governing body. And so that was the program's agenda. Okay, and you know what? It's very secret, but that is the crux of it. The crux of it is to get all these leaders on the same page so that they can be one, united against Christ, really, but united in global governing doctrine. So let's go ahead and just bust it out. We're going to show you the who's who of the leaders and influences in politics and big tech and media, the pharmaceutical industry. Your mouth is going to drop when you hear these names, and finance. So, a small subset of U.S. graduates include, and we're going to go ahead and start with the politics and policy. White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator Jeffrey Zients, lobby group hashtag Mask for All co founder Jeremy Howard. California Governor Gavin Newsom, 2020 presidential candidate, and U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, Chelsea Clinton, Hillary Clinton, confidant Huma Abedin, former U.S. Ambassador to the UN Nikki Haley. Now that name surprised me, man. Are you serious? Are you serious? The World Economic Forum, Nikki. Oh, former U.S. Ambassador to the UN and USAID Administrator Samantha Power, Eurasia Group founder Ian Bremmer. I want to go back up there. Nikki Haley. So Nikki Haley, you remember, was part of the Trump regime. You remember that, right? Check it out. Let's go ahead and skip. Look at this. Ivanka Trump. Folks, that's what I love about the John Birch Society is that they don't care what party you belong to. They're gonna rat you out. Period. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Independent, whatever you call yourself, right? Republican. It doesn't matter. They're gonna rat you out. So look at how they just ratted her out. Pow. They just ratted Donald Trump out. Boom. Now how many people gonna trust him now? Now that they know his daughter is up in the young global leaders. Sorry, you're not fooling anyone. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why, man, that's why I push it, man. I have the link right here. Let's join. Go ahead and join the John Birch Society. If you're tired of society the way it is and you want to see a change, then be a part of that change that you want to see. So let's go ahead and continue on. Former U.S. Ambassador to the UN and USAID, Administrator Samantha Power, Eurasia Group, all right. The Ian Bremmer, U.S. British financier, Bill Browder, Jonathan Soros, the son of George Soros, Human Rights Watch Director, Kenneth Roth, economist Paul Krugman, former Treasury Secretary Lawrence Summers, Black Lives Matter co-founder Alicia Garza, Ivanka Trump, and former U.S. Representative Tulsi Gabbard. Now, that was the Democrat that was in Hawaii. Now, let's go to legacy media. CNN, oh my goodness. CNN medical analyst Leanna Wen, CNN chief medical correspondent Sanjay Gupta, Twitter personality Eric Fageldine, and I apologize if I mispronounced his name, New York Times financial columnist Andrew Ross Sorkin, New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman, ABC News commentator George Stephanopoulos, Fox CEO and News Corps co-chair Lachlan Murdoch, Bloomberg columnist Justin Fox, and CNN commentator Anderson Cooper. Technology and social media. Let's go to technology and social media. Now, you're probably not going to be surprised at this name, okay? Microsoft founder Bill Gates, former Microsoft CEO Stephen Ballmer, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, Google co-founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page, Tesla and SpaceX founder Elon Musk, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, Wikipedia co-founder Jimmy Wales, PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, eBay co-founder Pierre Omidyar, Facebook co-founder or founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg, Moderna CEO Stephanie Bancel, Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, and Pfizer VP Vasudha Vats. You see what I mean? Look at all those names. You didn't even think about that, did you? So look, folks, these are the names that you gotta look out for. Don't let yourself be fooled. We have a whole lot to this. We're gonna have to go ahead and do a part two of this, but just something to not only think about, man, but do. Of course, I'm gonna go ahead and send the links to the John Birch Society. If you want to go ahead and sign up for that, you should. So that way you're not just complaining about what's going on, but you're actually looking at what's going on and then taking action to really, really come against it. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll go ahead and talk to you later. God bless and have a good one.